Coffee and Cremation with Tracy Allen. Grab your cup of coffee or favorite beverage and join me as we discuss what you need to know about pre-planning your final arrangements. Greetings and welcome to another episode of Coffee and Cremation, where you will get some great information as you grab your cup of coffee, tea, whatever it is that you would like to drink. Go ahead and have your cup of coffee, and we're going to discuss some things for you to enjoy the show. My name is Tracy Allen, and I am a pre-need cremation planning advisor. My job is to help you to put a plan in place while you're still alive and clearly thinking so that when you die, your family doesn't have to stress over the details while they're grieving with a broken heart. So today we have an awesome guest with me. I am happy to bring my guest on board here, Diana Castro, Esquire. Welcome to the show, Diana. There she is. You can't hear? Uh-oh. What done happened to the sound? I tell you, it's always something, isn't it? All right, let's see. Can you hear me, Diana? You can't hear me? Oh, and I can't hear you either. I can't hear you and you can't hear me. It's always something. Let's see. Well, for those of you that are watching, I apologize. Stand by so that we can see how to work this out, figure out what the heck. Audio. On my end, it's showing that the audio is working. And my mic is on. Gosh, Taylor.
I can hear you now.
Okay, and now I can hear you.
Great.
I don't know if those of you that are watching heard anything. I tell you, if you didn't hear, I apologize. I never know about how the technology is going to do me for the day. So it's about 2 minutes of no sound. Is that what you're telling me, Diana, Taylor?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything.
Oh, that sucks. Well, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tracy. Sorry
Absolutely.
for that intro not working out the way we wanted, but you just radiate joy while you're talking, even if we can't hear you. So thanks for having me here.
You're welcome. Thank you. And so if anyone is watching, make sure that you watching live, go ahead and put in the chat where you're watching from. Say hello and where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, #replay. All right. So we're going to dive in because there's a lot I want folks to know about. As you know, Taylor, my whole goal is helping people to understand what things need to be taken care of while you're still alive. And then this puts the peace of mind, on you as well as your family once you're gone. So I wanted to have you come and talk about trust. There's a lot that people don't know about trust. And, when I do my seminars for pre-planning, a lot of times people are like, well, I'm not sure if I should have a will or a trust and all of that stuff. So I want you to be able to share some good stuff with folks. So the first thing I want to ask is, what inspired you to become an estate planner?
Yes. So actually, I was a prosecutor for several years. And then I had my son last year, and I knew that was the time to make a career change at that point. And I'd been interested in estate planning. So I made the jump. I joined McGovern Law Group. We have offices in La Mesa as well as Alpine, and we serve all of San Diego County. And it's been such a joy joining their team. Truly, I work with the best people, the team as well as the clients. And I love getting to sit down with clients one-on-one, hearing about their life, where they're at, how they got there. And it's been a really amazing experience so far.
Awesome. And so I was going to ask you something and now it slipped my mind. Yeah. But you met Sam where?
We actually went to the same law school, but I had just happened to reach out to him. He works close by to me and he has a similar background. He was a police officer previously. So I reached out to him to grab some coffee to network, and he said they had room on their team for me.
Okay. And what's in your cup?
I have coffee. Yes.
Okay.
Coffee.
I've got orange juice.
Ooh.
Okay, awesome. So one of the things that I wanted to know is that, and I know that you get asked this question a lot when it comes to what is the difference between a will versus a trust. And so shed some light on that for folks.
Yes. So a trust is really the only way to avoid probate. Probate is something that most people want to avoid. It's not enjoyable. And you're subject to probate if you pass away and you have assets that exceed $184,500 in individual name. So, meaning you don't have beneficiaries, things like that. So, typically, if someone owns a property, especially here in California, you're going to be subject to that amount to be in probate. So, a trust is really more beneficial than a will.
Hmm.
A will is also beneficial though because it could designate who you want to get things, especially if you're below that probate threshold. When we do our estate plans, we have pour over wills, which serve as a backup document. So if when you pass away, you don't have assets that are in the trust, it pours it back into the trust. So it's a backup document. A
Hmm.
will is also important if you have minor children because that's the legal document that would nominate a guardian. So, God forbid you pass away while your children are still minors. You want to have a say on who would take care of your children. You
Right.
want to give the judge some information on who you think would be best. And so, a will would do that. That's why our estate plans still include a will, even if you have that trust. But
Mhm.
sometimes a will is better for people if they don't have that $184,500 threshold. Having a will in place is still a great idea.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So people that don't have that much money,
Yeah.
go ahead and get a will put in place.
Get a will put in place. You probably also want power of attorney documents,
Hmm.
which would take place during your incapacitation if that occurs, because you want someone to still manage your finances, carry on your rent, your mortgage if you had one, things of that nature, pay your medical expenses, your bills, same as your advanced healthcare directive. So, your power of attorney, there's two types, one's financial, one's healthcare. Ideally, even if you have a will, you would still want those documents in place. So, if you were to become incapacitated, everything is squared away document wise, and someone could step in and help manage your affairs.
Hmm. Okay. So now the topic of this video was the consequences of having your children put on. So share, what difficulties, regarding probate if you've got your children's name on the title for the trust.
Yes. So I think we're talking about putting on title during your lifetime for the
Mhm.
property.
Okay.
And this came up when you asked me, do clients ever say there's something they wish they had known about that they didn't know about? And this came to mind. So
Hmm.
frequently we'll see someone who comes in, they're ready to set up their trust, and then they mention that they added their, let's just say, son to title on their property. And there's different ways you could hold property, but let's say it's joint tenancy. And joint tenancy means after one person passes away, it automatically goes to the other person when they pass away. So typically, people assume that if they add another person on as a joint tenant, they would be able to avoid probate that way, which is true. You would be able to avoid probate for that asset. And so people come in with the best of intentions, already having done this. But what
Hmm.
I see when talking to people who have done this is typically later in their life, they're setting up their estate plan, although it doesn't need to be later in life. And they're saying they have different plans for their property now. Let's say it's a mother and a son, just for simplicity's sake. And let's say the mom added her son to title when the son was 18. And now the mom wants to set up an estate plan, including a trust, and she's in her 50s or 60s. She might have a different plan for that property, but she's only a 50% owner. So while we can do a trust and put her 50% interest into the trust, sometimes practically it's hard because you're only talking about a 50% ownership. And when I explain that to people, sometimes they'll say, oh, it's not a problem. My son's going to sign it back over to me. And they could do that, but a consequence of that is that when you're changing title and you're changing the ownership interest in your title, your property is likely to be reassessed for property tax.
Hmm.
So if you bought your property decades ago and now you're talking about changing title again, your property tax is likely to skyrocket, to go way up. And so some people are like, I don't want to do that. I couldn't afford that, even if I wanted to do that. And then the third thought is sometimes people are saying, you know what, it's okay. I want to add, my child as a joint tenant because I know I'm going to want my child to take this property when I pass away and I want to avoid probate. Well, a better way to avoid probate really is through an estate plan and a trust. And the reason for that is because one of the benefits is if your child inherits property and they inherit it through a trust versus just getting it during your lifetime. When you inherit it, you get that step up in basis benefit. So, what that means is, let's say someone bought a property here in San Diego County for $200,000 a couple decades ago. And then they pass away, and that property is worth maybe $1 million. The date of death appraisal is $1 million. That's a $800,000 appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
That date of death appraisal will then go to the children if they inherit it. So if they then sell the house for $1 million, they don't have to pay any capital gains tax. Amazing.
Uh-huh.
If they hold on to the property for a few years and they sell it several years later, and let's say it's worth $1.3 million, that's another $300,000 appreciation from the date of death appraisal. They would only pay capital gains tax for that $300,000 gain versus that $200,000 to the $1.3 million, which would be a huge difference while you're paying taxes. So that capital gains tax exposure, that step up in basis is what we call it, is a benefit you only get if you inherit property. And so a lot of people don't realize that, and they obviously want to set up their children the best that they can, and everyone does this with the best of intentions. So if you allow them to inherit that property, that's really setting up their children for a better circumstance.
Nice, nice. Hey, you guys, if you have any questions, make sure that you pop them in the chat so that she can answer the question for you. Now, that brings me to another question, though. Are you able to assist outside of California, or are you just California licensed?
I am just California licensed. Taking the bar is a tough thing to do. I don't foresee me doing that for any other states, at least for the short future.
Right, right. But, maybe 10 years from now, you might have a couple more states.
We never know, but we do assist people all over San Diego County and even beyond San Diego County. So we have some Riverside clients, some Imperial Valley clients, even some San Jose clients. So if you're in California, feel free to give us a call.
Nice, nice. Okay, well, I love it. Let's see. We're doing good because my goal is to keep this around 15 minutes, and so we've only got a couple of minutes left. So let me ask you: is there anything that you would like to share that we didn't talk about? It's something that you feel like people really need to know.
I would just say that I think some people assume that estate planning is just for the millionaires or the billionaires, and while it definitely still applies to them, it really applies to people much who have a lot less than that. We're talking about the probate threshold being $184,500. So if you're anywhere near that, you do want to think about a trust. And even if you don't have that, you still want those other documents in place. In case you have an incapacity event, or if you have minor children, you want to set up your children to have the best possible future. God forbid something happens to you. I know I'm a parent, and so that's when I became motivated to set up my estate plan. I was like, it's time. I had a house before then, and my husband and I were like, yeah, we need to do it. We need to do it. We need to do it. Kept putting it off. And the second we had our son, we set up our meeting, and we're like, okay, now it's time.
Very cool. Awesome. I appreciate that. How can people reach out to you? I was looking for in my control panel here a way to pop that up on the screen, but go ahead and excuse me, say your information for people to reach out to you, and then I'll put it in the description later.
Sure. So I work at McGovern Law Group. You could Google us at mcgovernlawgroup.com. Our telephone number is 619-344-0123. Feel free to give us a call, and we'd be happy to help.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Taylor.
Tracy.
All
Yeah.
right. So, hey, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, if you're watching live, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to continue to grow this channel. If you have questions, if you would like to be a guest, if you have something you would like to share that's going to help others to know how to have a better life while we're still alive, as well as how to make sure that the family is empowered and there's peace of mind once we're gone, reach out to me, 619-719-1484. And or you know how to reach me online. I'm everywhere, right? So thank you for tuning in, and we will be back next time with another episode of Coffee and Cremation. I don't know who that guest is going to be yet, but tune in and find out. Until then, Ciao for now, you guys.
Bye, Tracy.